Good morning. My name is Bill Chapman, a member of the class of 1963 and president of the Alumni Council. It is my distinct honor and privilege to declare these inauguration exercises to be open.
Hello and welcome. My name is Donald Kurtz of the class of 1952. On behalf of the Bowdoin College Board of Trustees, thank you for joining us as we welcome Barry and Karen Mills back to Bowdoin. Today, we inaugurate Barry Mills as Bowdoin's 14th president. Today, he becomes the 5th Bowdoin alumnus to serve as president, joining a distinguished group that includes Samuel Harris, Joshua Chamberlain, Kenneth Sills, and Roger Howell. The inauguration today draws upon long-standing Bowdoin tradition. Indeed, today is very much a celebration of Bowdoin's deep, rich history. It was nearly 200 years ago this fall, in 1802, that a grove of whispering pines was cleared to inaugurate its first president, Joseph McKean. McKean reminded the 8 students that literary institutions are founded and endowed for the common good. Those words resonate as loudly today as they did then. Bowdoin is no longer a rural college designed to educate the sons of congregational clergy, but instead is one of the world's best liberal arts colleges. Today, Bowdoin draws men and women from across the country and throughout the world to teach and to learn under its pines. It is the beneficiary of loyal and dedicated alumni and a supportive local community. Yet challenges lie ahead for Bowdoin, for the country, and for the world. We have asked Barry Mills to take leadership of the college we hold close to our hearts, to guide us through both triumph and trials, while keeping Bowdoin true to its heritage and relevant to its time. Barry, on behalf of the board, I pledge to you our best counsel and support and offer once again our congratulations and thanks.
My name is Rabbi Harry Sky, and I have been given the honor of delivering the invocation this morning. In every lifetime, one experiences inaugural moments. Today, we share this moment with our new president, Dr. Barry Mills. In sharing it with him, we open our hearts, minds, and souls, desiring to bring forth the positive energies that will assure him of success in his many endeavors for Bowdoin College. In these troubled times, such energy is called for. Let that which separates us bring us together. Let the fractures be healed and the doubts that cross our minds be laid to rest. Be with us, we ask, of the power that accompanies us in our life's journey. Give strength, courage, and wisdom to Dr. Barry Mills. To you, Dr. Mills, I bring the lesson from Scripture. Abraham of biblical fame is told by the divine, whose power was his mentor, "Go to yourself. Let your journey be your own. Let your bliss be your beacon and your soul be your inner guide. Listen to the voices that surround you, but hearken to the divine voice within you. May you envision your mission in this venerable institution to be one of hope, of faith, of acceptance of all the voices that speak to us. For we find within these voices and their respective messages the vision that is mankind. May the storehouse of wisdom and culture Bowdoin represents grow under your tutelage. May you go from strength to strength, from victory to victory, from achievement to achievement. In our moment of hope, we recall Bowdoin's graduates who suffered in the terrible moments of September 11th. May their souls rest in peace, and may their achievements be considered the heritage of humankind. May the words of our mouths and the inner thoughts of our spirit be acceptable to God the Power, so that this may become the moment when we embark on the journey of strength. Amen.
Good morning. My name is Duke Albanese, class of 1971. On behalf of the citizens of Maine and its governor, Angus S. King Jr., I bring greetings to all and a hearty congratulations to you, Barry Mills, on this extraordinary occasion. Indeed, it is a pleasure to be here at our beloved Bowdoin, representing this great state and celebrating this inauguration. To serve as president of Bowdoin College at the dawning of the 21st century is to accept a leadership role rich in tradition and very much a part of the history and the future of Maine. Dating to that initial charter of the college in 1794, to the first inauguration of Joseph McKean in September of 1802, to Maine statehood in 1820, Bowdoin and Maine have prospered together like two tall great pines, growing independently, but sharing in the richness of the soil, the early rays of the down-east sun, and the unforgettable wisps of the fresh salt air. And the history of this state is replete with the famous names of Bowdoin alums, many of whom have been Mainers, who made their mark on this state, our nation, and the world. The likes of Portland's Henry Wadsworth Longfellow and Percival Baxter, Brewer's Joshua Chamberlain, Waterville's George Mitchell, Bangor's Bill Cohen, Cape Elizabeth's Joan Benoit Samuelson. Over the years, scores of Maine governors have called Bowdoin their alma mater, though our two most recent governors, Angus King and John McKernan, strayed somewhat, attending that college over there in Hanover, New Hampshire. Sorry about that, Governor. All across the glorious geography of Maine, small cities, towns, and villages are examples of the good work of Bowdoin alums, bright and capable men and women who have in the past and who continue today to serve their state as active, involved citizens, doctors, lawyers, legislators, judges, business leaders. They have done much individually and collectively to help shape this state and honor their alma mater's expectation to go forth and serve the common good. Yet Bowdoin's legacy is perhaps as rich and as deep in the number of educators it has produced, men and women at various levels and in all fields of study. Bowdoin graduates serve as teachers, coaches, principals, superintendents, headmasters, professors, deans, and presidents, helping to nurture and encourage future generations in classrooms here in Maine and around the world. Yes, Barry Mills, your leadership of Bowdoin makes you a special citizen of Maine. Our early roots, yours and mine, were firmly planted in Rhode Island before we had that extraordinary opportunity to experience this great college as fellow undergraduates. Now we find each other as adopted sons of Maine. We share a common heritage, a common education, and a belief in the common good. Our roles as president and commissioner share a common mission to help develop within the pines and near the rocky shores of our Maine bright and engaged young men and women, ready to make their mark and serve their professions and their communities with distinction. Indeed, we are in the midst of the most noble of all work, helping our young people use their minds well, while building strong character in each and every one of our students. The graduates of this college and the youth of this state move on, prepared to experience fulfilling lives where they contribute much to the important work at hand, benefiting on their way this college, this state, and this nation. Today, your inauguration marks the beginning, officially and historically, of the presidency of Barry Mills. It is a day that bodes well for Bowdoin and for Maine. With a keen intellect, strong leadership skills, and a vision of a 21st century liberal arts education, you are the right person at a critical time to guide the special community of learning that we call Bowdoin College. Our state, its citizens, and I salute you. Congratulations, Barry Mills, and may I present to you, on behalf of our governor, Angus King Jr., this proclamation conveying best wishes from the state of Maine on your inauguration as president of Bowdoin.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Steve McCausland. I'm chairman of the Brunswick Town Council. For nearly 2 centuries, the town of Brunswick and Bowdoin College have been synonymous. On behalf of the Town Council and the 22,000 residents of our community, I want to welcome all those Bowdoin alumni who have returned home this weekend, to extend greetings to all those who may be making their first visit to our community, but to especially welcome back home and congratulate Barry Mills. Bowdoin's importance to Brunswick is substantial. Your students, faculty and staff, and the campus itself are an important economic and cultural force within our town, and one of the major reasons why Brunswick is the unique and special place that it is, to live, to work, to raise our families, and to share and observe the Bowdoin experience. Historically, the town-gown relationship over the years has been positive, but like neighbors and friends, we've had some ups and downs. As the chairman of the Town Council for the past 6 years, I can assure you there have been far more ups than downs. The town and the college staffs regularly meet. We work hard to resolve joint issues, and the current Bowdoin-Brunswick partnership has been one of open discussion, cooperation, and progress. I am honored today to have been included in this inauguration to represent our town, and I am confident that the advances made in recent years will grow and strengthen under President Mills, and that the best is yet to come.
Swami, oh, Dida. President Mills, members of the faculty, members of the Board of Trustees, students, and ladies and gentlemen. I have the great honor to bring greetings from the Academy on this occasion. Now, anyone who knows the Academy knows that nobody can speak for the Academy. In fact, it is a Tower of Babel under normal circumstances. So I will speak on behalf of one overage academician. In fact, in the letter of invitation that I received, it was suggested that I might offer some advice to President Mills. Now, mention has been made of a book I wrote quite a few years ago in which I did give advice to people, and I just looked it over when this invitation came, and one bit of advice that I gave to new presidents and such was never underestimate the difficulty of changing false beliefs by facts. Another one was cultivate the art of asking people for money. Your career may depend on it. But somehow it seemed to me that this type of advice did not suit this auspicious occasion. So I thought that I should probably try and elevate my greetings from the Academy a little bit. Perhaps President Mills believes that he has finally arrived, received indeed palatial quarters in an ivory tower. That very odd phrase so often used to characterize academic institutions. Perhaps he knows better. It's interesting that ivory tower, that phrase, first occurs in the Bible in a rather erotic poem in the Song of Solomon, where it says, "Thy neck is like an ivory tower that is cool, smooth, elegant," obviously not related to higher education. I tried very hard to track down the first use of ivory tower as applied to universities, and was surprised to find that it came as late as 1940. H.G. Wells wrote in a sort of propaganda tract, and I quote, "We want a minister of education who can electrify and rejuvenate old dons or put them away in ivory towers." Now, obviously, there is no need for that at Bowdoin, where youth reigns and the electrical supply is strong and reliable. The ivory tower has always been an illusion. We teach, we research, and we perform service. At least in modern times, we have always been very much in the world. There are, however, two messages that I would like to deliver to President Mills and the Bowdoin academic community. In 1957, Justice Felix Frankfurter enumerated what he called the 4 essential freedoms of a university, and he could have just as easily said college. And these 4 essential freedoms, according to Justice Frankfurter, are to determine for itself on academic grounds. I want to repeat that because that's crucial. To determine for itself on academic grounds who may teach, what may be taught, how it should be taught, and who may be admitted to study. Indeed, this is our Declaration of Independence, and President Mills, I hope that you will guard those 4 essential freedoms with great care. My second message is this: the role and relevance and opportunities for liberal arts colleges have never been better than at this very moment. Liberal arts colleges are the standard of quality for undergraduate education that all of us try to emulate. And the desire for a liberal arts education has literally become worldwide. Your former President Edwards and I have worked in Pakistan, or on behalf of Pakistan, to introduce liberal education there. Singapore, Chile, all over the world, people are now desiring the benefits of a liberal arts education. This is not an accident. The reason is that a liberal arts education gives you leadership training, makes your mind flexible, gives you values, and in a knowledge-based society, there is absolutely no better training for the young mind than liberal arts learning, which is featured at Bowdoin. Someone wrote not long ago, and I quote, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." And indeed, that will continue, I am confident, to describe a Bowdoin education. President Mills and Karen and members of the family, I wish you good fortune in this new journey, and good fortune as well to the entire Bowdoin community. Thank you very much.
President Mills, members of the Board of Trustees, and distinguished guests, welcome. Today we celebrate Bowdoin, what it is and what it will be, and welcome a new member to its community. As I wondered what to say for such an occasion, my thoughts always returned to the idea of home. In a Common Hour address early this fall, Professor Enrique Yepes stated that home means many things to many people. And it is precisely this multiplicity of viewpoints and values which define Bowdoin. Bowdoin is a constantly changing home to a diverse group of people. But it is in this flux that we find the continuity central to the college. Generations of students have experienced similar challenges of living and working at Bowdoin for over 200 years and will continue to do so for at least 200 more. My grandfather attended Bowdoin, but even more importantly, maybe my great-granddaughter will someday too. In the words of the American writer H.L. Mencken, a home is not a mere transient shelter. Its essence lies in its permanence, in its capacity for accretion and solidification, in its quality of representing in all its details the personalities of the people who live in it. Our institution is a home, but it is not a home that allows us the luxury of total comfort or complacency. Bowdoin is not a place of boring perfections. It is a place of chances and constant challenges which affect each of its inhabitants in unique ways. If 3 years ago, as a high school student in rural Florida, someone had told me that I would attend a small college in Maine, become an art history major, get involved with student government, teach second grade in India, or live in a college house, I would have been skeptical. If you were to ask any of the students here, you would likely find a similar story with different details, because that's what Bowdoin does and what it is, a constant challenge to our values and a reaffirmation of the importance of life struggles. Even in the 2.5 years that I have been here, I've seen a marked change in the student body. Something positive is taking place, which is creating a more involved and more concerned campus community. I don't think there's one thing that can be credited for this, but it can be seen in the record voter turnout for recent class elections, in the support and thoughtful discussion surrounding tragedies of September 11th, and simply in conversations taking place all over campus, in and out of the classroom. And the good news is we still have a ways to go, and both the energy and the spirit to get there. Bowdoin is a constantly changing home to a stream of ever-changing individuals. And it is into this active community which we welcome Barry Mills, who even in a few short months as president has shown his dedication to the student body and the future of the college as a whole. President Mills, we are proud that a fellow student has come back to lead us forward to an even stronger place than we are today. Welcome back to Bowdoin, and welcome home.
President Mills and assembled guests, I'm enormously honored to speak on behalf of the faculty in welcoming Barry Mills to Bowdoin. In fact, I was so honored and excited to be asked to do this that I had written one version of this within 2 days of being asked, before school even started this year. That version started by describing the way we, the faculty, greeted the news that our next president was to be our 5th alumnus in that position, a trustee, a non-academic, and the head of the search committee. And that way was, of course, with the unskeptical good cheer and absolute uncomplainingness for which we, like most college faculties, are surely best known. That version went on to say that once most of us had met Barry himself, his wit, his smarts, his openness, and his high aims for Bowdoin, especially for its intellectual life, very quickly persuaded us that our good cheer was actually justified, and that we really had remarkably little to complain about, which was a tough realization for some of us, including me. The sentiments in those comments are still entirely apropos, and still the case among us. Words and phrases like smart, curious, open, people person, committed to the future of Bowdoin, big vision, come up repeatedly when one asks, as I simply happen to have done recently, for soundbite descriptions of Barry's presence and person. But banal though it may be, it's still nevertheless true and important to point out that that version of these words was written in another time. Between the end of August and now, many landscapes, internal and external, here and abroad, have changed. The meaning of a college education, and thus also of a college presidency, have subtly shifted under all our feet and are likely to shift more in the next months and years. Barry himself has noted that he took the reins here at a moment when our fiscal and physical houses are in remarkably good shape, thanks to President Edwards, which allows Barry to concentrate on a complex of important in-house issues like economic and ethnic diversity, the role of athletics on campus, and the nature of intellectual life here. These issues remain important, of course, and if we treat them seriously, our discussions will be both difficult and salutary. But they're all framed now by questions that suddenly seem more urgent than they did a mere 7 weeks ago. What is the value of an expensive liberal arts education in a wobbly economy? More importantly, what is the role of such an education in forming citizens who will play a thoughtful, informed, responsible, and imaginative role in our newly nervous democracy? How will Bowdoin as an institution contribute to a freer, more just, and more peaceful world? These are essentially moral questions, to be answered neither quickly nor with a single voice. It will be Barry's job as president to communicate both the urgency of these questions and the importance of complex answers to people outside the Bowdoin bubble who might support the college, a difficult task made no easier by the increasing volume of more immediate claims upon people's goodwill and philanthropy. In this context, it was immensely heartening to hear in Barry's convocation speech, unprompted by crises national or international, that, and I quote, "there is a powerful moral component to the experience and education of students here at Bowdoin," that he is more interested in the transformative aspects of education than in its economic payoff, and that his own experiences of profound change at this institution, especially what we might call its gender diversification program, allow him to look to the future with a combination of seriousness and optimism, much needed and very much appreciated here and now. The faculty looks forward to working with you in the next years, Barry. We wish you the very best as you steer this college into the future, and we welcome you and Karen and William and Henry and George to Bowdoin.
Barry Mills of the class of 1972, by virtue of the authority invested in me as chair of the Board of Trustees of Bowdoin College, and by virtue of your election by a vote of the trustees, I now deliver to you the seal of the college. And the charter. And the keys. And hereby invest you with all the rights and privileges pertinent thereto. I pronounce you President of Bowdoin College.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here today as we open together a new chapter in the long and distinguished history of Bowdoin College. Governor King and Mary Herman, we welcome you as friends, as neighbors. Thank you for coming. Dean Rosofsky, thank you for being here and for your thought-provoking talk, and I'll get back to it. You honor us with your participation in these ceremonies. Thank you also to Dr. Bernice Johnson-Reagan and Dr. Thorsten Wiesel for their participation in this wonderful weekend, and most of all for the time that they spent with our students, talking and helping them learn. I also want to make a special welcome to the representatives of the colleges and universities here today, with a special welcome to my NESCAC colleagues, President Tom Garrity from Amherst College and President Bro Adams from Colby College. Thank you for coming. Thanks also to all who have spoken and performed here this morning. I deeply appreciate your words, your talents, and your enthusiasm. We are honored to have so many members of the faculty, staff, student body, alumni, and the Board of Trustees with us today, as well as two of my predecessors, President Edwards, President Greason. Thank you for coming, and thank you for all you've done for Bowdoin. I'd also like to welcome Polly Greason and my dear good friend, Blythe Edwards. For me, this is a moment of exhilaration, tremendous pride, and deep humility. I look forward to the challenge, and I'm grateful to be entrusted with the future of this historic college. On this day, as we mark a new beginning, many of us recall our own experiences on this campus and remember with optimistic spirit our hopes and prayers that we have long had for this college and for its future. I pledge to do my utmost to build well on the excellent foundation provided to us and to work tirelessly with you to advance Bowdoin's commitment to inquiry, to learning, and to serving the common good. I'd like to take just a moment to introduce you to my family. Okay. My wife, Karen, and the newest sons of Bowdoin. I don't have any daughters. This is politically correct. I have no daughters, okay? William, Henry, and George. Now, it is true that our move to Maine has been a great adventure after spending so many years in New York City. The adjustment for me has frankly been fun and full of interesting events, but the move presents many challenges for Karen and my boys. I want to thank them publicly for their love and support. And I'm happy to report that the most serious issue we've had so far was when we discovered last week that our cable company didn't carry the Yankee playoff games. Problem solved for the World Series. As you might imagine, this is a pretty big day for the Mills family, especially because so many friends and members of our extended family are here. 34 years ago, my parents drove me from Rhode Island to Brunswick to take a look at Bowdoin. I have a vivid memory of that day when an early snowfall dropped flakes as big as silver dollars on 3 Rhode Islanders enchanted by the Bowdoin pines. On that day, with my parents at my side, my journey with this college began. On this day, it's incredibly special to have my parents here with me again. My brothers David and Ira and their families are here, as are Karen's parents, Ellen and Melvin Gordon, and Karen's sisters, Ginny, Wendy, Lisa, and their families. Now, these Gordons are a group with some pretty strong allegiances to Dean Rosofsky's school in Cambridge. But they've also been wonderfully supportive and encouraging to Karen and me throughout our careers, and especially with our move to Bowdoin. Speaking of our move to Bowdoin, it really has been a fabulous experience. Most of you already know what Karen and the boys and I discovered, that the summer in Brunswick, Maine is pretty tough to beat. Since our arrival in early July, we've met and gotten to know some terrific people. The faculty, staff, students, and alumni we've met have been warm and gracious, and the people of Brunswick have welcomed us into their community with warmth and friendship. It's been wonderful, and we're really grateful to everyone for their kindness and generosity. So my time at Bowdoin begins again, with enthusiasm, hope, and high spirits. We look to the future of this great college with a profound respect for its traditions and with a deep and abiding belief in the value of its mission, a mission made even more vital by recent terrible events. As we gather here this morning to celebrate this ritual of transition at Bowdoin, we can't help but feel some anxiety about transitions facing our country and the world. When the atrocities of September 11th unfolded, many of us realized immediately that our lives would be forever changed. Having lived and worked in New York City for so many years, I found myself personally shaken by the impact of these attacks on family and friends. Like so many families, the Bowdoin family suffered the loss of loved ones that day. And like many other families, we rallied quickly around each other. We gathered on September 11th in this very place, 2,000 of us, to speak and weep into open microphones. Students from New York sharing memories of growing up in the shadow of towers now lost. A young Iranian student sitting up there on the balcony reminded us quite rightly about the differences, understanding, and respect that we must respect carefully. And the audience responded with a long and tearful standing ovation. We spoke that day about a world we had known, a world of relative safety experienced from the haven of American shores as rational, thoughtful, and balanced. A world that has now changed to something that appears far less rational, far less balanced, and far more uncertain. But it is important to remind ourselves that feelings of uncertainty in times of national conflict and crisis have been common on this campus at these moments of transition in college leadership. Samuel Harris, the first alumnus to lead Bowdoin, was inaugurated in 1867 as the nation struggled to recover from the Civil War. Casey Sill's 34-year presidency began as World War I was winding down, endured through the Second World War, and concluded at the height of the conflict in Korea. I remember well reverberations of the war in Vietnam that were felt here in Brunswick and across the nation when Roger Howell delivered his inaugural address in 1969, and I remember well being in this room. And when my predecessor, Bob Edwards, delivered his inaugural remarks 11 years ago yesterday, America was busy forging a coalition for a conflict that would become Desert Storm. As a student here during the late 60s and early 70s, I remember well the sense of anxiety and uncertainty brought on by the Vietnam War and by civil unrest. Today, again, our nation and the world face serious conflicts and anxieties, and uncertainties abound. In such a time, we should be ready to support and encourage our government in one of its fundamental responsibilities, to protect its people. At the same time, we all must work harder to understand the rest of the world and our complex relation to it. Now, the fact is that the terrorist attacks on New York and Washington and their aftermath have forced many of us to reassess our lives and our priorities. Things that appeared so vital and important only a few short months ago can now seem trivial. I've sensed this ongoing reassessment as I travel around the country on behalf of the college. I hear it from parents who tell me how relieved they are to have their sons and daughters studying in the relative safety of Brunswick, Maine. This sort of reexamination is valuable because, to some extent, I believe, the excesses of the recent past have led us away from what is truly important in our lives and in our society. And as we recalibrate our priorities, I believe that the value of education will be reaffirmed as central to a rational future. The question, though, is where our particular form of education, the residential liberal arts college, fits in any reaffirmation of the value of education. It is, of course, a truism to say that we live in an increasingly complex world. Our economy grows more complicated every day, our technology more prominent every hour. We also live in an age of specialization and celebrity, which tests and often disparages the educational values and ideals that Bowdoin holds central. Education that is less expensive and more vocational, more skill-based, is seen as appropriate and efficient to our time. To some critics, our model, the liberal arts model, is seen as merely a quaint luxury. But those who would deny the importance of the liberal arts tradition are, and always will be, wrong. It will come as no surprise to you to hear me say that I believe deeply in the model of education practiced and refined at Bowdoin during these past 2 centuries. I intend, as president of this college, to do all that I can to support and advance that model. College presidents today spend a great deal of time, hopefully raising money, building budgets, and alternatively supporting and worrying about athletics, and acting more and more like CEOs of commercial enterprises. The fundraising piece is important, very important, but making sure that we remain focused on academic achievement and intellectual development is really the most important responsibility of a college president. And as the times and generations change, we must continue to underscore, in language that everyone can understand, why the liberal arts model of education deserves our time, energy, financial resources, and passion as scholars, students, alumni, friends, and benefactors. So exactly what is it that happens here that's so important? Well, Bowdoin students spend the better part of 4 years in a residential setting, developing and sharpening their knowledge of a wide range of disciplines. It's a period of intensive study, especially during their last 2 years as they select and complete a major course of study. As they gain substantive knowledge, sitting elbow to elbow with talented and dedicated faculty, our students also develop their powers of communication, writing, speaking, and quantitative literacy. But there's more to it. As their knowledge grows, they also gain and refine the ability to compare and contrast, to distinguish concepts, set priorities, and critically deconstruct theories and assumptions, the essence of developing intellectual rigor. At the end of 4 years, they leave with a great deal of substantive knowledge, but they also leave with a passion for the experience of learning, a passion that forms the basis of an intellectual life to come. We've all heard the skepticism about our model of education, and it comes up time and time again as young students probe the curriculum. Worried parents wonder, what in the world will my son or daughter actually do with a course, say, on magical realism? What is the practical purpose of such a course? The practical purpose is, of course, to open one's mind, to enhance one's imagination, to improve one's ability to communicate, to encourage collaboration, to reward creativity. All attributes of a future leader. More importantly, all attributes necessary for a rewarding lifetime. As we broaden the spectrum with other courses, religion, sociology, government, language, art, women's studies, biology, chemistry, and philosophy, and as we inject concepts of ethics and risk-taking, and we encourage open debate, welcome disparate points of view, and instill and insist on high standards and careful analysis, we begin to develop minds best suited to lead society in a demanding and uncertain world. Bowdoin has done this for generations. My job, our job, is to see that it continues to do so well into the future. Now, there's an additional challenge that best suits our liberal arts model of education, and that is the challenge of literacy in the technical scientific age. Making judgments in the future will be increasingly difficult because the substantive facts underlying many issues often obscure and are the product of highly specialized and technical research. Now, we should be firm advocates not only of fact-based analysis, but of education that opens students to critical understanding of such technical knowledge and its creation. A major challenge for us, then, is to promote an environment and a curriculum that makes the complexity of the sciences in our technical world available and accessible to those who may decide to concentrate in other areas, but who are sufficiently wise to appreciate the need for basic literacy and who want to understand the methods of inquiry of the sciences and technology. So, for example, when we are faced once again with an ethical decision on stem cell research, at least we can begin the discussion knowing what a gene is and that even tomatoes have them. I'd like now to return to a discussion that I understand occurred a number of years ago. Dean Rosofsky was very kind when he spoke about liberal arts education and our place in the world. However, in his book, The University and an Owner's Manual, Dean Rosofsky describes his conversation with a young student attempting to decide between Harvard and Haverford. Now, I would never presume to suggest that Bowdoin is for everyone, especially over Harvard with so many Gordons in the hall, but I'll try to update this discussion for you. Parenthetically, you'll note I'm taking full benefit of the home court advantage. Because being aware of Dean Rosofsky's power of intelligence, wit, and debate, I would never attempt this if I didn't have the last word up here. Throughout much of its history, a distinguishing factor for Bowdoin has been our faculty's commitment to serious teaching of undergraduates. Dean Rosofsky's point was, I believe, that although a commitment to teaching is of great institutional value, for some students, and I think he may have meant the best, studying in an environment where more vibrant curiosity and cutting-edge research crackled through the air would enhance education in nearly all respects a bit more intently than would merely good teaching. Curiosity of mind in the research university would lead to more challenging educational opportunity for those minds capable of absorbing all that electricity. Now, it's a point well taken, but such an environment of vibrant scholarship and artistic work is no longer confined strictly to the research university. It's going on right here at Bowdoin, and it makes our model of undergraduate education, the undergraduate liberal arts education, even more compelling. I invite any skeptics among us to return in the spring to the atrium of Druckenmiller Hall to view the poster sessions by our undergraduates, showcasing the work they've done with Bowdoin scientists in the laboratories. I invite them to the art building to see the murals completed by Bowdoin students with the guidance and inspiration of our faculty, or to read the poems and short stories of Bowdoin students who have been taught and coached by our English professor. While every generation of Bowdoin student can tell you about the one or two faculty members who challenged them and changed their lives, today's students describe a faculty who are not only committed to teaching, but who are intensely committed to their discipline as scholars, researchers, creators, and artists. We support, encourage, and applaud this high level of scholarship in research and art because Bowdoin should be and is a place for talented and dedicated faculty to continue to pursue their passions for their fields of study. What significantly sets us apart from the research university and makes us unique is the extent to which the scholarly research and artistic work is accessible to and involves our undergraduates. We hear a great deal today about differentiation, about image and branding. So what is our soundbite? What do we do best? What do we excel in? The answer lies in this relationship between our students and our faculty. It is in the faculty's commitment to teaching and to learning, to making their own work accessible to undergraduates, and their willingness to share their imaginations, their curiosity of mind and spirit for the purpose of learning. Now, many people have asked me to set out for you this morning a list of priorities or imperatives for Bowdoin. This is quite natural given what we expect of our leaders today. There's also some expectation here that the pace of dramatic change seen here on our campus in the last decade might continue. Think for a moment of what has been accomplished. First and foremost, we expanded our faculty and our curriculum. We have boldly and successfully reinvented our residential life system. We have created new spaces and structures that enhance and support both the academic and social life of this campus. These fundamental advancements have improved Bowdoin in incredible and significant ways. Now, institutions that undergo this level of dramatic change often require a period of time to absorb all these changes and to incorporate them into their bones. Timing is everything, and the economy may require that we act judiciously and with restraint as we move through these next few years. But stasis at a place like Bowdoin is not healthy, nor is there any room for complacency in our highly competitive environment. And finally, for those of you who know me, it just isn't in my nature to rest. As Roger Howell said in his inaugural speech, we should remember that no institution can live on its past, no matter how praiseworthy that past may be. If the study of the past leads to a stimulation of our minds for the future, then the effort is a laudable enterprise. If it lulls us to complacent inactivity, then it is fatal. So what will be our guideposts for the future? What principles will guide us? As I said in my talk at Convocation this year, our highest priority is sustained and enhanced academic excellence and intellectual rigor. Every decision we make will be tested to determine the impact on the quality of our academic program and on the excellence and engagement of our faculty. I firmly believe that everything we do here at Bowdoin is important: residential life, athletics, student services, extracurricular activities. But what will make Bowdoin stronger and enduring is its commitment to its central intellectual mission. So, with that as a backdrop, let me briefly address three important topics to consider for the future: size, collaboration, and access. First, size. We are a small college in Maine. Our academic program is deep, diverse, and challenging. Our students are involved in a wide range of intellectual and extracurricular endeavors, but we are only 1,550 students, evenly split between men and women. Parenthetically, this is the 30th anniversary of Women at Bowdoin, and we should all be proud. We are not located in a community with a number of excellent colleges virtually next door. While we must work diligently to preserve our character, I believe we should consider over the next few years whether the breadth of experience here academically and intellectually could be widened if we were a somewhat larger but still small community. Now, I'm not suggesting Bowdoin on steroids, only that a marginally larger community might allow us to enhance Bowdoin's capacity to achieve its academic mission. We grew from 1,400 students to the current 1,550 students between 1994 and 1998. That growth was accomplished as we changed our system of residential life and during the construction of long overdue facilities for the academic program and for our residential life program. A further expansion of our student body to, say, 1,800 students would be somewhat less complicated today because of the progress we've made over the past years. Nonetheless, any change in the size of the college would have to be considered carefully and be implemented incrementally, because a larger student body comes with significant costs. We have the opportunity then to hire additional faculty in order to preserve our student-faculty ratio, currently at 10-to-1. We would face great pressure on our facilities, and we would have to maintain small class size. And student services would have to be expanded. A quick stop at the tremendously popular Watson Fitness Center will convince you of that. Of course, any growth in our enrollment would have to also be done with appropriate respect for our Brunswick neighbors. But the point is that this isn't to get more tuition into Bowdoin College, because it is with an increase in enrollment that we can, if it's carefully done, propel us into a new and exciting direction that will relate to our fundamental mission. It's an issue we should consider carefully at the proper time. Second topic I'd like to talk about is collaboration. We are a small college with limited resources. We have both geographical benefits and burdens. There's no doubt in my mind that the academic experience provided on this campus could be enhanced significantly through thoughtful collaboration with other colleges, universities, and research centers. Such collaboration could allow us to expand our curriculum, enhance opportunity for research and scholarship by our faculty and students, provide greater diversity of people and ideas and culture, and bring a greater vitality to the life on this campus. Now, we already collaborate very successfully with Colby and Bates, a relationship that I expect will increase in the years ahead. But I believe Bowdoin should also explore collaboration outside the state of Maine, around the United States, and internationally, in order to enhance our academic program and mission. Technology, properly utilized, will enable us to consider collaborations previously unimaginable, as we seek to strengthen and deepen our academic program and opportunities for our students and faculty. Lastly, but in many ways, most importantly, we need to talk about access. Bowdoin education is expensive, and for us, it's expensive for us to provide, and it's very difficult for many families to afford. As costs rise, it is essential to preserve access to Bowdoin for the best and brightest students from across the United States and internationally. Our continued commitment to a strong financial aid program will ensure that students from rural Maine and students from poor neighborhoods in New York City and Los Angeles, and even some not so wealthy students from Rhode Island will be able to come here to learn. This is a significant challenge in the best of times that is made even more difficult in a weak economy. Bowdoin has been need blind for a long time now, admitting students on the basis of their ability, not on their ability to pay. We meet the full calculated need of students and commit to do so for all 4 years. Changing our policies to admit students on the basis of their ability to pay, or to use scarce financial resources in a bidding war for superior students, from my point of view, isn't correct, and I believe would destine us to mediocrity. So for Bowdoin, the challenge is to continue to expand our capacity to attract the best students and to support those with need. This will require the continued commitment of the Bowdoin family, which has long been generously supportive of this imperative. It's a challenge that Bowdoin should be able to meet. So these are 3 significant challenges as I see them: to re-examine the size of our enrollment, to encourage collaboration, and to enhance access to Bowdoin for deserving students. Finally, let me conclude today where Bowdoin began, committed to the common good. As many of you know, the ideal of service to the common good was introduced at Bowdoin in the inaugural speech of the college's first president, Joseph McKean. It was probably the most memorable statement any Bowdoin president has ever made. As Don read to you, literary institutions, said McKean, are founded and endowed for the common good, and not the private advantage of those who resort to them for education. We repeat these words often around here because they underscore a basic canon of this place. McKean set the tone for generations of Bowdoin students who would live their lives as leaders committed to the common good. Here on this campus, there are no spectators, only participants. We maintain the highest of standards and demand that our students take responsibility for themselves and their community. Our job is to provide students with an intellectual grounding to make what they consider to be the correct decisions for themselves, their families, and their communities. But to this burden, I would add the responsibility of preparing students to live lives of moral leadership, best exemplified by graduates like George Mitchell, Jeff Canada, and Ellen Baxter. Robert Coles, in his recent book, Lives of Moral Leadership, quotes a teacher from New Orleans as she describes leadership. You have a real, honest talk with yourself. You find out who you are and what you really believe is right. The correct choice, and why that's it, and then, with all your values figured out, the reasons why you are ready to do something. That means you have to act. Act on your beliefs. And you have to behave right, just not talk right. And you have to convince others to go in the direction you are going. A leader is someone who knows how to persuade others to keep others company, to stand for what she believes in, the good, the 100% right thing to do. I believe this is a model of leadership, of moral leadership, that Bowdoin must champion. It is not that we will define the precepts of morality. Each of us must do that on our own. But we do have a responsibility to provide knowledge and ideas and power of reasoning and analysis so that our students may be prepared to determine their own ethical paths. And so, during these complicated and confusing days, I implore each of us to think carefully about this concept of leadership and to try to live our own lives in accordance with it. For me, as president of Bowdoin College, I commit to you that I will endeavor to lead this great college with this notion of moral leadership as one guidepost, and with a firm commitment to academic excellence as a second guidepost, while striving constantly to determine with all my powers of analysis what is right and just, and then acting on those beliefs with conviction and courage, both for the greater good and for the good of our beloved Bowdoin College. Thank you.
At this point, I want to thank all of you again for sharing in this celebration. We ask that you remain in your seats until the conclusion of the recessional. I now declare these inauguration exercises to be concluded.